within a second, sorry. Okay. Sorry, I gotta have everything pretty well adjusted before I start. Got daylight, so I might try to do it earlier. I can open the blind and have the sunshine in, have natural sunlight. I might be able to read too. Okay, two spirit flyers. Two people do together, working together. Wouldn't that be nice to find out? I don't know if I ever will. I will. I will find out. It's happening as I speak. There are good people in this world, and they are working together. It's not where I'm at. It's okay. I can leave. No question. Two Spirit Fires, Chapter 25. Susan Kramer tightened the bolt beneath the old cracked mirror and dropped the wrench. There, she said, let's go. I hope we're not too late, John said. As Susan pushed her Spirit Flyer down the driveway, she jumped on. John was right behind her. I'm glad to be working with you instead of against you, the boy whispered to his old red bicycle. Before Susan's bicycle reached the end of the driveway, the big front wheel rose swiftly into the air on its own. John's Spirit Flyer lifted off right behind her. Hang on, Susan called as her bicycle climbed higher and higher. John nodded. The bike shot over the roof of their neighbor's house as they turned toward the school. High above the houses and streetlights below, the old red bicycles picked up speed as they flew toward the east side of the town. I'll tell you what, I should have gotten better situated. I'm sitting uneven on a cushion. Hang on. The school wasn't far away. John's Spirit Flyer pulled up alongside Susan's old bike. The wind felt crisp and refreshing on their faces, but as they got closer to the school, they flew into the cloud of smoke that hung over the field and surrounding area. The smoke stunk as if 1,000 graves had been left open to rot. Yeah. It seemed so quiet, Susan said, and what an awful smell. They shot past the last row of houses. The baseball field came right into sight through the hazy smoke. Look, John said excitedly. He pointed. Even through the smoke, that both children could see the resting serpent of fire and darkness. My goodness, whispered Susan as they sped closer. It's just like it was in the deeper world. Just then, the huge fire-red eyes of the serpent looked up at the two small flying bicycles. The mouth that was almost closed opened wide. Hang on tight, Susan yelled as the bicycle dove into the fog. Mrs. Happy looked up when she saw the snake's mouth opened. Curses, she yelled at the crow. She ran toward the smoke, waving her long hook. Take them, you fool, take them. The snake began to rise up, its jaws lifting off the ground just before Mrs. Happy arrived. About 20 of the sleepwalking children remained outside of the snake's mouth. They dangled in the air, chained together like beads on a necklace. Yet they didn't waken. They seemed as weightless as vapors, their eyes shut, their faces blank. At that moment, Susan and John zoomed right under the huge snake's jaw. No, no, Mrs. Happy screamed from the ground. He can't have broken the contract. The chain was repaired. The children soared into the air, and as the snake turned, struggling to find them. The old red bicycle circled around the head, which had flattened like a cobra ready to strike. The sign of the circle X burned in white fire on the snake's chest as it reared up. The chain of sleepwalking children swayed out of its mouth like a piece of noodle. What do we do? John called to Susan. I don't know, Susan shouted back. She stared at the huge red scales of the snake's head, made of both fire and darkness. Hang on, let the bike lead. The giant snake twisted, looking for the two magic bicycles. The Spirit Flyers flew as one, side by side, completing the circle around the huge head. They zoomed toward the gaping jaws. The eyes gleamed as a ball of fire shot out of the serpent's mouth toward the riders. Look out, Susan screamed, but before she could yank her handlebars, her old bicycle had already jumped to the side. A roaring flash shot past her like a comet. Susan quickly looked to her right and saw that John was safe too. The ball of fire had passed between them. Susan gripped the handlebars tighter as she saw what was about to happen. The two old red bicycles were flying inside the serpent's mouth. Far ahead in the distance, she saw the mountain of treasure bathed in a blue light. The sleepwalking children covered the mountain as they picked up the toys of their dreams. John glided next to Susan on his bicycle. He looked at the toys longingly for a moment. It's the same treasure, John said. This is the place and time. But it isn't all the same, Susan replied, staring with wonder. You're free now. You're awake. You aren't asleep or under any spell or contract, and you aren't chained to that ghost person. You have a choice no matter what they told you. Remember, they're liars. Well, what do we do? John asked. At that moment, the two red spirit flyer stopped midair in the belly of the dark serpent. The sleeping children were right in front of them, scrambling over the mountain of toys, filling their arms. The kings know what to do, Susan said, though she wasn't sure why she said it. The words just came to her. Then, as if out of nowhere, the children heard a voice terrible in majesty, deep and strong as thunder, the voice of 1,000 oceans and waters. Let your light shine, for light driveth out the darkness. Both children reached out toward the old broken headlights on their spirit flyers. Though their hands trembled, they pushed the switches at the same time. The light exploded from the bicycle in a crashing crescendo of music, flooding the deep darkness. In a blink of the eye, the snake in darkness had vanished before the blinding light. When Susan's eyes could adjust, she saw that she and John were on the spirit flyers on the ground, in the middle of the baseball field. The whole field was lit up brighter than noonday. In front of them was a mountain of smoking ashes. All around the sleeping children stood like statues. Grace Medlow and many other children were in the pile of ashes. They reached down frantically, scooping up the ashes as if trying to hold on to a crumbling dream. Some children moaned in their sleep, and in the distance behind her, Susan heard the quiet sobs of weeping. My, Susan whispered to John as she looked on the scene before her. Her cousin could only nod. Learn a lesson. As Susan turned toward the sound of the weeping voices, she realized the great light on the field was caused by something behind her. Both she and John looked at the same time, but as she turned to the source of the light, she fell to the ground, fainting at the sight before her. Susan lost track of time, perhaps because there was no time at that moment. But when she awoke, the light was easier to see. John was lying on the ground beside her, as if he too had fallen in a faint. Susan looked ahead and smiled. Then she reached over to John. Wake up, wake up, Susan cried in a whisper. He's here. John opened his eyes and sat up. Like Susan, he could only stare at the person in front of them. No one had to tell them that they were looking into the eyes of the king. Okay. One more chapter. And it's, no, 2 more, 3 more, 6, 7, 8. I already went over this. Yeah, 28 is the last chapter. So. And like another one's about 10 pages, so I'm not going to read it tonight. Okay. Let your light so shine before men that they see your good works and give glory to God. I love what St. Francis said. I've quoted this before, but he said, at all times preach the gospel, and if necessary, use words. What you are doing is the gospel. It is the only gospel that a lot of people are going to see. And the way some people are acting right now is very sad, because they're not preaching the gospel with their lives or with their mouths or anything. Lying and stealing is not the way to make anybody trust you or love you or want to be around you. So, but some people are addicted to lying. Lying comes easier than truth. If you lie, you can't remember. It's hard to remember things. It's very clearly seen in the Amber Heard and Johnny Depp trial, defamation trial. You know, this is a classic example of what I mentioned about the time of the election, that Jezebel and Valkyrie Brunhilde was not going to be able to sing, and it's not going to be over. Anyway, the idea being that there's going to come a time when Jezebel is taken down by the King of Kings and the Lord of Lords. And I believe that happened definitely in a very real life with this woman who claimed to be abused, but everybody that has survived domestic abuse knows that she's lying through her teeth. And liars do not prosper. Sorry. You can lie about what I did and what somebody else did and what the other person did, what you didn't do. Saying things were your idea, but lying will not get you any points in heaven or on earth, really. They'll be found out eventually. So, okay. I don't want to can it, but I just want to point that out. I believe that the time is coming when a lot of these people who are controlled by Jezebel are going to be taken down. And I'm wishing that was true in my life right now. I'm praying that it's true. That people that are controlled by the enemy, lock, stock, and tomahawk, are going to be found out for what they really are. Liars, cheaters, and stealers. Thieves. Gypsies, tramps, and thieves. Okay. Well, good night. God bless. Down anybody's on. I'll check on it. Oh, it says 2. Any comments? Nope. All right. Well, God bless everybody.